Freedom fighters, I'm back with another one. Well, welcome to the first segment of Story Time. If you're new to this channel, I usually cover news and current events, discuss political and ideological beliefs, stuff like that. Just last week, I did my first gear review, and I've talked about doing a few different things in the channel, maybe doing like some cooking or like camping and fishing, bushcraft survival type videos. But yeah, let me know what you'd like to see in the future. But story time is basically going to be based on personal events or things that happen to me or others that I know. Something that I have firsthand knowledge of. And the reason I'm going to call it story time is because it kind of reminds me of school. And this first thing has to do with school. So gather around and listen to my tale I have to tell. But yeah, so a friend of mine is a teacher, and we got to talking about stuff, and he was just telling me, school just started, so his kids just got in, and something was happening with one of the kids. They were like having problems and itching, and said he wasn't feeling good, and he started looking like he was coming down with the sweats and all this stuff. So he just wanted to make sure that, the snack wasn't like, he had allergies or nothing crazy was going on with him. So he started going through his records. And he noticed something that wasn't there before. Was a section to see if they took the juice. And he was checked. And he said, oh, wow, that's weird, but he said, now I'm curious. Let me go to the next person's papers. Yup, they were juiced. And the next kid, juiced. The next kid, juiced. Every single one of them were juiced. And it's not mandatory either. There are mandatory ones that you need to take to get into school, but that one wasn't. But surprisingly enough, every single one of these kids were a 15-kid class. And it's kindergarten, by the way. That's what makes the whole story that much crazier. Is like, this is little kids, 5-year-olds. So he was just like, man, that's crazy. So he goes up to this kid and says, like, everything's fine. We're just going to wait until your parents come pick you up, and I'll let them know, you weren't feeling too good today and all that. But then he goes, oh, by the way, I saw, you had all your shots and stuff. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, mommy and daddy said I needed to take it so I won't die. Like, wow. That's pretty much where we're at. And we were just talking about, like, how these kids are so screwed. And this isn't really attack directly at the kids because it's their parents that did this to them. They had no choice in this. They don't know what's going on. But they're being led down the path of basically just an obedient slave. And that's what we were talking about. This generation of kids is just beyond screwed. Which is Generation Alpha, ironically. I mean, the memes write themselves. The Clown World script writes itself. The most subservient, obedient generation is going to be called Alpha. The most beta. But yeah, the parents did it to them. I'm guessing, and that shows how bad off even the other generations are. I mean, I don't know how old these parents were, but maybe like late stage Gen X or something. When did they cut that off? Like 84 or 85? Most likely millennials, in the 90s or something like that. But that's their kids. What is this next generation going to be led to? And then we got into more conversations about just like, and you see a lot of these channels talking about homeschooling. Oh, you got to homeschool your kids. Homeschool, homeschool, homeschool. It's all you hear about. And we're just talking about, like, that's really not going to solve the problem. Like, you can't shelter and hide your kids from the world because they're going to meet these people one day. Um, you can teach your kid, how to grow stuff in the garden, how to trap, how to hunt, how to fish, all this stuff. But he's going to hit 18 one day. They're going to have to go out into the world and live a normal life. And these indoctrinated sheep are going to be your kids' coworkers. They're going to be working in the offices. And those wokesters are probably going to be their bosses. For sure, that's all the people in the CEO, the boardrooms, all that stuff. They're going to be the kids who said, Mommy and Daddy said I had to take it or else I'm going to die. They're going to be the people enforcing on your children that, they've got to do whatever the new thing's going to be. Yeah, oh, you got to wear the mask. You got to take the juice. Next thing, 20 years from now, it's going to be like, you got to take the brain chip. Yeah, it's for your good. If you want to work here, you better take the brain chip. Or you're gone, mister. Yeah, you need to sign up your direct payments to the CBDC credit score or else you can't work here. That's what it's going to be. So homeschooling your kids and hiding them from this evil, crazy, corrupted world that we're in isn't going to solve the problems. And, we were just talking about everything in general, but, another channel made a good point that, these superhero movies lately, this never-ending loop of superhero movies is to keep children in, like, an infancy stage. And they were saying, like, and they're targeted at, like, teenagers and adults. These aren't kid movies anymore. I mean, I went to a screening of, like, I can't even remember what it was. Like, if it was the Avengers Endgame or one of the new Batmans or something. I mean, it was all, like, teenagers and adults. It really wasn't a kid-themed movie. But then they do have more, like, adult-oriented movies, like Deadpool and stuff like that was definitely targeted for that. But, and Hollywood always slips in their little woke pieces of propaganda, and that's what they're trying to target this generation of kids with. But yeah, man, let me know what you think about this. I thought I would just bring it to you, and just let you know that all these young kids, man, they all took it, they all got it, and again, I mean, it falls on the parents, but I guarantee you they're telling them everything else too, all the propaganda. My bets are, you think these parents are country-loving, Second Amendment supporters? No, they tell their kids everything. Just be a compliant, obedient slave and do as you're told, and this is for the greater good. And anyone who doesn't go along with it, is an outsider. That's what they're, raising them for. But yeah, on that note, like I always say, no one's coming to save us. We're on our own. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.